Loving Sairam, Brother Jean Massey. The Sri Satya Sai Global Council West Indies lovingly welcomes you to the series Awake, Unite and Inspire. We are extremely happy, grateful, and privileged to have you as a guest on our program this evening. So, Brother Jean, share with us, how did you first come into contact with our beloved Mother Sai?
Well, actually, it's a very interesting story because I had heard about people materializing things in India, and I was having one of my films developed at a lab in Hollywood, and the technician told me that there was this video of a man in India materializing things and about Sai Baba. And so he told me Dick Bach's number, and I called Dick Bach and I said, "How do I see that film?" And he said, "Well, you come over to our place. We have a meeting on Fridays, and we show the film." I said, "Oh, okay." So we have budgeons. Budgeons, what are budgeons? And it sounded like a cult or something, so I didn't go. And 5 years later, a friend of mine said, "I have a blind date for you." I said, "I'm not going on any blind dates." He says, "No, if this is not the most beautiful girl you ever saw in your life, I'll pay for dinner." So I said, "Okay, I'll go." So I knocked on Jenny Navarro's door, who she's passed on now, but she opened the door. It was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life. She was just absolutely beautiful. And she said, "What do you want to do tonight?" I said, "Whatever you want to do." And so she said, "Why don't we go to the Sai Baba Center?" And I'd heard of the Sai Baba Center. So I said, "Okay, I figure an hour wouldn't kill me, if I go to whatever she wants to go to." So I walk into the Sai Baba Center, and there's a guy up on the wall there that's not Jesus. And the men are on one side, and the ladies are on side, like a bunch of Quakers. And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I hope nobody sees me in here with these people." And so I sat down on the men's side, and Janet Bach began singing a bhajan, and I started sobbing like a baby. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever heard. It touched my heart. And there was a warmth coming off the altar. I couldn't explain it. I said, "This is powerful warmth coming off the altar, And they talked about, after the bhajans, they talked about the service projects they were doing and all the wonderful work that they were doing, feeding the poor and everything. I thought, these are very good people. And they didn't try to sign me up. "Are you going to be one of us?" And they didn't pass a plate. They didn't take a collection. I thought, this is different. This is really nice. And the next day, Jenny Navarro went to India for 6 weeks. And I thought, you know what I'll do? While she's gone, I'll go to her meeting every Friday night. So when she comes back, I can tell her that I'm a member or something, So for 6 weeks, I went to every Friday night, and I liked it because it started at 8 and it was over at 10, and the nightclubs didn't start till 10. So it was like perfect, So she came back. She said, Swami tapped her on the head, and she was no longer interested in me, but just wanted to be a good friend. And I said, "Fine, we can be friends." Okay. And I continued to go to the Sai Baba Center. And we did things like stay up all night for Shivaratri. And I went around telling everybody, I stayed up all night for Shivaratri. And finally, in January of '88, they were going to India, and they said, this is 7 years later, 8 years later. And they said, "Do you want to go with us?" And, a little light went off. And I said, "Well, yeah, I'll go to India with you." So I went to India, to Prashanti, stayed in a shed, like everybody else. And over the years, because of my background, it took me a long time to realize who Swami was. So that's how I came to Swami. Sairam.
Very intriguing, interesting journey, Brother Jean. So you have been a devotee of Sri Satya Sai Baba since 1980. You're a Los Angeles film director. You were very much involved in filming through the Satya Sai family. So many medical camps, hospital aids, orphanages, and Sai schools. You've made a number of short films for the organization over the years. And you've had many, many wonderful divine interactions with Bhagwan over the years. Can you share two of your most memorable ones? I know it might be difficult to pull out two, but if you can share two of your most memorable ones with us.
Sure. Some fond memories of Swami. Um, in 2000, Harshad Patel called me up and said, would you like to make a film for Swami? Because he knew I was a film director and I was a TV commercial director for many years. And I said, yes, of course I would. And so in 2000, I flew to India and got VIP treatment because I was going to be working for Swami to make a film for the new museum, the Chaitanya Jyoti Museum. And I had 6 interviews and worked with Swami closely on the script for the film. And it was a film called Creation, Hymns from the Vedas. And it was about the creation of the universe according to Swami's words and the Vedas. So for 6 months, I studied the Vedas. When I say studied, the passages that related in the Rig Veda to the creation of the universe. And I actually learned a lot about the Rig Veda and all the things of the creation of the universe. And so I made a film with, and Swami, you remember a Swami letter, there was no one to know who I am. And so I took that and I integrated them into the film. And I got a very, very famous man in Hyderabad, I believe, Narendra Kapre, Kapre, who was one of the most greatest Indian scholars. He could chant the Vedas in all the modes or something. And anyway, got him to chant the Vedas for the film, got a friend of mine to score it, got some special effects done, and we made this beautiful film about the creation of the universe according to the Vedas. And it played in the Chaitanya Jyoti Museum on opening day. And so they brought Swami in, and Swami watched the film. And after the film, someone asked him, Swami, would you like to meet the man who made the film? And Swami said, oh, yes, as if he didn't know me, you know. And so he came over and he said, what is your name? I said, Gene Massey, sir. He said, what is your name? Gene, Swami, Gene Massey. He says, what is your name? And then he said, have you seen Puttaparthi? And then turned and walked away. And I didn't know, you know, Swami never says anything that does not have extraordinary meaning. Everything he says has depth all the way into your soul if he says something. So I didn't know what he meant, but he kept asking me what was my name. And then he said, have you seen Puttaparthi? So needless to say, I thought about it for a long time. What did he say? Have you seen Puttaparthi? I thought maybe they were going to give me a tour of Puttaparthi or something stupid like that, you know. I thought I had these dumb thoughts about, you know, maybe they're going to give me a tour because I made the film. Have you seen Puttaparthi? Well, of course I've seen Puttaparthi. Then I realized the people in Puttaparthi speak Telugu. He was asking me, he was letting me think about it and letting me realize I made the film in English. Now, a couple of million people have seen the film, so we made a Telugu version. And Dr. Reddy did Swami's voice, and another man did the narrator's voice. And so we made a film in Telugu and played the following year at the one year anniversary of the museum. So everything Swami says has tremendous meaning. So what did he mean? What is your name? And I finally thought about it. do you know what karma you must have to be here having done this? Do you know what grace you're receiving for this, to be able to have made this, to put a film in his museum? And it struck me, and I was sobbing when I realized what he was talking about, because of the opportunity to be close to him and to have made a film. I must have done something that was unusual, and then to have his grace to have be able to done that, to do that. That's what he was talking about. Do you know how lucky you are to be having done this? Do you realize the grace you're receiving now? You know, so that's one. And then another memorable experience was in 2006. I knew of I had gone to Russia in 2003 to film a medical camp with Dr. Upadhyay there. And I realized that the Russian people, they played some music for me, and there were some really talented musicians from Russia that had these Sai songs they were singing. And I thought, you know, you should play these songs for Swami. This is incredible. The music they had made, and they were famous singers too, famous singers in Russia that had done these Sai songs. So I went to Radio Sai, which is what the media center was called at the time. And I said, we gotta play this music for Swami, you know. And then I went to Umberto, who was in charge of the programs, and talked to Umberto. I said, they should sing this at birthday. It's such beautiful. He said, no, birthday's all booked up. I can't do it. I said, would you just listen to them? Let them audition for you? And so he did. He let them come audition for him. And he said, okay, they're going to play for birthday. And so one day I was all excited because they were going to play, and I was running around arranging everything with Radio Sai and putting the whole thing together and everything. And I was so thrilled to be involved with it. This was a service. I think it was, you could call it a service activity. But I was so thrilled and so excited about doing this service that the next day, Swami, and he was still walking then. This was 2006. He was not walking very well. He was walking with people helping, but he came out of his door, and he was only a few feet away, and he started towards me, and then talked to someone, and then talked to someone else, and then looked at me, and then came a little bit closer to me, and then looked at someone else. And then he finally got right in front of me, and I got up on my knees, and he said, I saw you yesterday. And then turned and walked away. And at first I didn't really understand what he meant. He saw me yesterday because I was running around helping the Russians and everything. Then I realized what he was talking about was I was thrilled to be doing the service. And he was saying to me, that's what I'm looking for. When people are excited about the service, when they're thrilled to be doing my service, that's what I acknowledge. I saw you yesterday. And so that's was a profound thing for me to realize what he's really looking for from us is the joy of service, the love flowing through us. I'm sure you felt it when you have done service, that you feel the love go between you and the person you're serving. And that feeling is transformative. That feeling is really what Swami's looking for. When you feel that love flowing through you, you know, sometimes we write a check to send it off to somebody and we feel, and that enhances the ego. No, that's not what he's looking for. The Gene Massey wing of the hospital or something, you know. that's what most of us, you know, are all looking for. Some ego satisfaction. Yes, I feed. When I first started, I used to brag to people, I feed the homeless. Oh yes, I feed the homeless down in Santa Monica at the shelter. I've been doing it for a couple of years now, you know. And so when you first do service, you do it to enhance the ego. And what Swami wants is to forget the ego, do it for that love that you exchange with the person. it's very transformative. And I have a lot of stories about the people that have been transformed by that I've done in my talks, about how that type of service can actually change you from one type of person to another. That can enhance the love in your heart, that type of service. And so that's why he has us do it. He's even said, you don't do it as much to feed the poor as you do to change your own heart. See, the transformation that comes from that is really what he's looking for from us. And so anyway, without going too much, that's another one, Sairam.
That was very beautiful, touching, and inspiring, Brother Gene. So, share with us the very first time you laid eyes on the physical form of Sri Satya Sai Baba. What was that like?
The first time I ever saw Swami, I was sitting in the sand in '88, and it was in the afternoon. It was an afternoon darshan. And I had much anticipation for it. And I don't really know how to put it into exact words, other than as I saw him walking across, and I've been in situations where, I've seen Swami walk by and then look around and there'll be 5 or 6 people in tears just because he walked by. And that was my reaction as well. The first time I saw him coming in this, and the light had the afternoon sun, the low afternoon's golden sun was in his hair, and he was like, the only way I can describe it is golden love walking. Golden love walked across the sand. And so that was my experience. Now, I still had some misgivings about the fact that he wasn't Jesus, because when you're raised a Christian, if it's not Jesus, it's the devil. If you're not following Jesus, you're going to hell. I've had people tell me that, And so being raised a Christian here, it was a big change for me to realize that this man is actually divinity incarnate, and even more important than Jesus was. So that took years for me because of my conditioning. Even as a child, I had learned that Jesus is the only way, which is, we of course know is not true. You're not going to hell. So there's a lot of, with many faiths, they all want you to believe like them. We're tribal. Do you believe like I do? So that was something that I had to overcome the first time I saw him. And over the years, I began to realize who he is. I saw so many miracles. I've been all over the world seeing so many things that, I'm a devotee now. Sairam.
Very, very intriguing and interesting, Brother Gene. So you shared that when you were asked to film the Chaitanya Jyoti Museum, you had about 6 interviews with Swami. Can you share a little bit about what was that experience like, working with Swami himself to fine-tune, to direct, to guide? What was that experience like, knowing that you are interacting with God in human form?
Well, in 2000, when I had so many interviews with Swami, making the film, I had not really fully realized yet who he was. Now, I knew when I was sitting in front of him. I remember looking out the window, and he spent an hour talking to me and my friend that came in, my lifelong friend Carl Hayes, who died in 2019. but Carl came with me, and I knew that I was having such incredible grace, and there were all those people. I could see out the window, all those people sitting and waiting to see Swami, and I thought, how could I be so fortunate to be sitting here? But Swami said several things that were very, important to me that I didn't realize at the time. He said, "Forget money." Now, I thought he was just meaning, don't focus on money. What he was really saying was, sell your stock and don't worry about. I had a business. I was trying to finance films, and I had close to almost $1 million in my accounts. And I was going to finance. I had created and filed a patent for financing movies on the internet. I called it fan financing. Now it's called crowdfunding, but I was one of the very first people that did that. And I thought it was going to be so disruptive, and I was going to be a billionaire from it. I was focusing on that. And what he was really saying is, forget money. Don't. And I should have, at the time, what I should have done is written screenplays and taught acting. I could have made a living teaching acting, and that would have been a better path for me than the crowdfunding path, which is what I'm still doing now, by the way, as a consultant. But it never took off, and I lost all my money in the stock market, and I became basically a beggar. I went broke, and I sold my airplane, I sold my Porsche, I sold my houseboat over in Lake Havasu, Arizona. I lost everybody that I ever loved at the time. And so I lost everything because I was pursuing this money thing. Whereas if I had just put my stocks and things into savings and I could have lived quite comfortably off the interest and been a teacher or something. And at the time, I didn't know that, you kind of think, well, maybe Swami, I'm not sure what he's talking about. He would forget money, and so you don't know until later. Over the years, I've learned who Swami is. If he said jump off the building now, I would jump off the building because I would do whatever he said now. But at the time, I didn't really know. So that forget money was extremely important. And another thing that he told me is that there is no such thing as creation. There's only projection. And I didn't really know exactly what that meant at the time, but what he's talking about is it's all within you. Everything that you see is a reflection. So if you don't like what you see out there, change it within here. When you're pure love, you will see pure love everywhere. That's what he was talking about. It's all projection. It's from within you. There's not a world out there that's different from what's inside. When you correct yourself, and so he said, never criticize anyone. He said specifically, never criticize a living soul. And so obviously I catch myself doing that sometimes. I look at that guy, can you believe he did that? I catch myself. In reality, it's all a reflection of what's inside. So the challenge is to change your own heart. And again, he's trying to do this with us doing service by going out and being loving and caring with everyone. And that's, one of my most memorable things that I remember from Swami is that he said, never criticize anyone. It's all a projection from within.
Brother Jean, very interesting perspective and how very true, that he reflects, resounds, and reacts who we really are. So, what does Sai Baba mean to you today?
That's interesting because Swami is not his body. As a matter of fact, he has said he once said to Isaac, Swami had a cold and he was sniffling a little bit, and Isaac had the thought, how could Swami have a cold, you know? And Swami, of course, knew what he was thinking, and he said to Isaac, I am not this body. And it made him realize, yes, Swami has ailments. He broke his bones and things like that. He has ailments. He even died. He passed, the body passed. So what is Sai Baba, and who is Sai Baba? Well, I'm a lover of the universal life force, the Paramatma. As a matter of fact, in California, you can buy a special license plate. And my special license plate says Aikya, Aikya. Now, in Sanskrit, Aikya means the union between the Jivi and the Paramatma. That union is the most important thing for all of us. How do we join that Paramatma? Well, we learn to get rid of our desires and our desire for sensation and our desire for experiencing sensations. I want to go here, I want to go there, I want to taste this, taste that, you know, I want sensations. If you can get past the desire for the sensory world, then you can become united with that Paramatma. So my license is about that, Aikya, that union between the Jivi and the Paramatma. So, so what does Swami mean to me? This universal life force, this Paramatma, took a body. It's that simple. So that we could experience it. It's hard to experience the formless without a teacher, without some experience of the formless. So how do you know the formless God? There's a saying, you reach the nirguna through the saguna. You worship the form to get to the formless. The goal is to become one with the formless. So how do we do that? Well, most of us need that form to identify with, to talk to read the teachings of, to experience the things that he suggests for us. And that process will take us to the formless, to the nirguna. So what do I think of Swami? I think he is that universal Paramatma that took a body. It's that simple. Sai Ram.
Very, very deep, moving words there, Brother Jean, and it reminded me when you were talking about Atma and Paramatma. Swami says there's no difference between the Atma and the Paramatma, because he says basically, I am God, but you are God also. The only difference is I know that I am God, whereas you are
You
still,
don't,
yes,
right?
it's a work in progress. And then I remember reading in another statement where he said there's nothing like attaining realization. You are already that. So all we are doing through our sadhanas and spiritual practices and japam is removing the veils that prevent the manifestation of the Atmic splendor that we are already. And I guess hence the reason why he addresses us as embodiments of love, embodiments of the divine Atma. He's addressing the very core of who we are. And that is his primary purpose, isn't it, on the face of the earth, to show us the way back to where our original legacy lies, which is realizing that I am God. I'm not different from God.
Mhm.
So very, very beautiful sharing, Brother Jean. So Jean, you have been involved in filming many projects of the Psi organization all over the world in approximately 27 countries, so many different types of projects, schools and service and the Chaitanya, etc. Can you share a little bit what that experience has been like over the years, and what are some of the observations, the life lessons you would have learned along the way?
You see, if we follow Swami's teachings, it's all about our own transformation. That's all it's about, really. Swami just wants us to change our hearts. In 2000, when I was first given the opportunity to do some filming for Swami, and more after that, it was given to me as part of my transformation. I was a TV commercial director with a lot of money in the bank, chasing after name and fame, wanting the fruits of my actions, wanting the things that the earth has to offer. And I had a head the size of Texas. I had a big ego. And so I was doing things that Swami would not approve of. And so what does he have to do to a guy like that, that claims to be a devotee? Oh, you claim to be a devotee, and you're even doing service to enhance the ego, right? And you want the name and fame, and you want to accumulate a lot of money, and you want to do all the things the world has to offer. How on earth am I going to fix this guy? Swami's thinking, right? And so the first thing that he did was take away all that money. It's very difficult to be extremely successful in this world and be humble, because we say in Hollywood, you start believing your own PR. You start seeing the news articles about, and I was on the cover of magazines and things, it was like my head was like this big, So what do you do with a guy like that? Well, first of all, you got to get rid of all that money, beat him down to being a beggar, to where he has to borrow money from friends. There was a point where I literally did not have the coins to put in the washing machine to wash my clothes. I didn't have a penny. And by the way, I found some rupees in a drawer, and I went up to the bank and cashed them in, and I got enough money to wash my clothes. But that's the example. And I would walk around the room at my apartment, which I'm still living in 50 years later. I was walking around this apartment at 3 o'clock in the morning with no money. And I'd borrowed all my money and had my credit cards were full, and I was going to be homeless. And I didn't know what I was going to do. That's how bad it was. And fortunately, something came through, and I got a little money and was able to pay the rent. And by the way, always, no matter how bad things got, Swami would give me something at the last minute, and some money would come in or something would happen. I remember once I didn't have a penny, and I wanted to go to Guru Purnima. And I said, Swami, if you're God, you'll have me sitting right in front of you at Guru Purnima. And something happened. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I went to Guru Purnima. And I was a cameraman in Swami's ashram for many years. And I remember setting up my camera, and I was kind of late wrapping up the camera. I'd filmed the darshan and everything, and everybody had gone. Everybody left the mandir, and I was still wrapping up the camera. And Swami came back out. And he came back out, and they brought a few villagers in to sit down. And so I went over and sat down right with the villagers, right in front of Swami. He came in and sat down in his chair, and they brought some of the people, and everybody else had gone, and they brought a few people sit down, and some sitting down there. And I realized he had me sitting right in front of him. He was letting me know that he had heard what I said. See? So what does Swami do with you after he defeats you and takes everything away? He sent me around the world. I went to 9 countries in Africa, 8 countries in South America, 5 cities in Australia, Fiji, Russia, Malaysia, everywhere. And I met all his devotees. And I would go stay with them because they would fly me somewhere and then put me up with the family. And so I got to see real devotees that were wealthy, and they were using their money properly. They were using their money to help humanity. And I began to see exactly what to do when you're wealthy. And I began to see what love is. I met people that were so wonderful, filled with love in their hearts. Such good people, people like Dr. Upadhyaya, doesn't draw a breath except for Swami. 10,000 people in the world are not blind because of Dr. Upadhyaya. And so I began to see people like this, and that he sent me on this to transform my heart, to show me what I need to do. He said, this is the way you should be. You should be like Dr. Upadhyaya. You should open your heart with love. Forget the things of the world. Forget the money. Forget money. And fill your heart with love. See? And when you do that, that's what he's looking for. And so that's what he did to me. But first they have to beat you down. They have to take away everything, to clean you. And then he shows you how to live by meeting the devotees. And that's how I got my heart helped. And don't misunderstand me. It's still a process. I'm not descending into heaven tomorrow. I'm still going through the transformation, but I've been through some of the toughest parts. You never know what comes. You never know, you fall and break your arm or whatever. You know, he's got ways for us to make ourselves humble again. When we think we know, then Swami says, when you think you know, your downfall is inevitable. And so what he wants us to become is children, and humble and loving and spreading his love everywhere. And so I got to see this. So this is what happened to me with Swami. This was my transformation. How does he take an egotistical, money-grubbing commercial director and make him into a devotee? See? And so that's what this is all about. That's what it's all about, becoming a devotee. Sairam.
My God, Brother Gene, that was quite a transformation that took place in your life, and as you said, it's still happening.
Sorry, I got a
And
little emotional there.
I know reliving it must be very emotional as well. And I remember Swami talking about the 3 zeros. He says, I will take away your family. Will you still love me? I will strip you from your wealth. Will you still love me? I will destroy your reputation. Will you still love me? So it's all, as you said, is about crushing the ego and personal transformation. And sometimes he does things which eventually brings about that awareness to show you what is really important and priority in your life. And every soul, every one of us would have gone through some of those challenges in life. So thank you so much for sharing. So, Brother Gene, since 1980, you've been in contact with Sri Satya Sai Baba. How has practicing his teachings And I know you shared a little bit of it in this sharing before. How has practicing his teachings continued to impact and transform your life? Because as you said, we are still very much works in progress.
Yes, I'm a work in progress. And I still go to the Hollywood Center. I still sing some bhajans. Um, the things that I do now mostly are in my daily life. So, you know what Swami says, he's often said, if you just do no harm, that in itself is a good service. And so how can we do service in our work? Um, most of the people that go to work, they go to work to make some money. You know, there are some people in the world that are fortunate to be so in love with their work that they do it for the love of their work. And they are satisfied from the work itself, not looking for the fruits of their actions, but enjoying the work itself. Imagine being a teacher in the world, you know, and shaping young lives. Imagine being a nurse and healing people. So there's some people that are on the right path, you know. I'm in a field that is mostly related to money now, where I help people find funding for their businesses. And that's a good service, but there's a lot of people that are in it to make a fast buck. Because in the money world, you know, you make a percentage of the money and it's all about money. It's not so much about helping people, it's about, I want to make a lot of money. But I'm in this business. And so what I'm doing is I write articles about how if you're looking for funding for a business, make sure that your investors, that you have great concern for the investors that are going to give you some money, you know, and that you don't take advantage of anyone. And so I integrate being a concerned, selfless person into the business. I also spend time with people. Um, Someone will call me up and I'll know in my heart that they're not a good not a good potential for business and making some money with them, but I'll spend time with them anyway because I can help them and give them advice. And so now I give free advice to people. They call me up. I tell everyone, if you want to know something, call me up and I'll tell you what I think, you know, and I don't charge you for it. So that kind of thing can be a good help. So you can practice selflessness in your business. You can practice selflessness in your daily activities. My wife does something that I'm trying to learn to do. She goes up to the grocery counter to pay for the groceries. And she says to the lady at the checker at the grocery counter, "What a nice dress. Oh, I love the way your hair is. How did you get it that way? That's so nice like that, you know. Oh, I love your earrings, you know." The checker is standing there all day long checking the groceries. Some people don't even look at her, you know, and they go all day long. Nobody gives them a thought even. And so by going there and saying, "Oh, hi, how are you?" And she looks at the name tag and says, "Nikki, hi, Nikki, you know, how's your day going?" And then the next time she goes, she says, "Hi, Nikki," again. And Nikki feels really good because she remembers Nikki, you know. So there's really nothing that you can do any better than that. As you go through the day, try to spread love. And it doesn't cost anything. It don't cost you a penny. "Nikki, I like your shirt. Very nice," you know. And somebody honks at you, in Los Angeles, you'll be driving the speed limit and there'll be somebody on your tail. Sometimes you'll be going past the speed limit and they'll be on your tail honking the horn, "Get out of my way," you know. And so you're tempted to throw them an obscene gesture or something, but instead of that, wave at them and spread love to them. That's what Swami wants us to do. And so How do you do, Swami, in your daily life? Try to spread love everywhere. That's that simple. Doesn't cost you a penny. You know, you go to the grocery store, say, hi, how are you? John, you know, I see you, you know, sure, busy today, aren't we? You know, some friendly thing. You know, I go up to the post office and I'll joke around, say, what's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this? Or something, you know, just to make a joke and brighten their day wherever you go. And if you can do that, I think Swami would be very happy. Sairam.
Jane, very, very powerful, inspiring messages for us. And I love what you said. We can do so much savor without spending a single penny. As you said, a simple smile, showing an act of kindness, asking
Mhm,
somebody, how is your day going? How can I help?
mhm,
Crossing somebody along the street, being polite while driving, you know,
mhm,
taking care of animals, not treating them with disrespect. So many things we can do without money. It's really amazing, you know. Listening to somebody who has a problem, visiting the hospitals, cleaning
mhm.
the beaches, so many wonderful things. And what a beautiful example your wife had. Because imagine somebody's in a grocery store, they're probably on their feet for long hours, they're
All
very
day.
tiring, they're probably dealing with bad customers as well. And
Mhm,
here's somebody who sees me, values me, says something
mhm,
nice to me. I can imagine the joy in that person has that there's somebody out there who cares, who notices what I'm doing. And that is truly, truly wonderful savor. So, Brother Gene, you taught an EHV based life skill class at a Los Angeles County prison for teenage boys. Share with us, what was that experience like interacting with these souls? And I know in interacting, you would have learned and shared as much with each other.
Well, for 15 years, I worked in a Los Angeles correctional facility for teenage boys. Most of them were gang members from South Central, a bad part of town. Most of them did not have a father. You know, I would ask them one night, I would teach about 20 boys at a time, and I'd say, how many of you have a father in the home? And a couple of them out of 20 would raise their hand. I said, where's your dad? He's in prison. Where's your dad? He's in prison. Where's your dad? I don't know. You know, where's your dad? In prison. I don't know. So they had no father in the home. And most of them, their mother was working 2 minimum wage jobs trying to feed them, you know, and so they were raised by their gang members and they didn't really know any better. So I thought what I might be able to do is teach them how to get a job. And so I would videotape them practicing job interviews, you know, and they would come in and they first time they would come in and say, man, what's up? And I'd say, no, you don't want to say, man, what's up? You want to say, good afternoon, sir. Nice to meet you. And you want to shake hands. And they didn't like to look anybody in the eye, you know, because if they look each other in the eye, it means they're going to kill each other or something, you know. And so I would teach them to say, you got to look right in the eye and put out your hand and shake hands with them and say, good afternoon, sir. And so I would teach them that and teach them not to pick their nose. And they would see themselves on video. And then we would fill out job applications and show them how to fill out a job application, how to volunteer in their local church to get references. They say, can my mom write my reference? I said, no, you need to have a reference from somebody else besides your mother. And so I said, go to the church and volunteer and help them clean up the church and get the minister to write a recommendation. Yes, he works in our church. I said, not only that, but you might meet some girls at the church, nice girls, you know. So I would talk to them on their level, you know. And it was one of the most rewarding things that I did ever in my life. And in my opinion, there's probably not much better service you could do than keep a boy from going on to prison. because there's an 85% recidivism rate of the boys in the camps. This is a prison camp, and in the body of the camp, there's this high school where they go to school. They don't come out for a year. And so when they come out, they go right back to their homies. You know, they're high or drunk within the hour, you know, when they get out of camp. So what do you do? And so I would teach them, would practice things like I'd sit them in a chair and I'd have the guys surround them and say, come on, go with us. And so what are you going to tell them when they want you to come get in the car with them and go with them? Tell them your grandmother's sick and you got to stay home and take care of the baby or something. You know, what kind of excuse would you give to not go with them? Because you know they're going to the party and you know that you're in curfew, and after 6 o'clock, you're going to get in trouble if the police stop you. So I would do this, and I'll never forget, I had one boy, and I showed caring for them. You know, they learned that I was not being paid for that. And they said, why are you here, man? You know? Oh, and there's one funny story I'll tell you. One day I went up to the bank here, to the ATM. This is one period when I was really, really broke. And I think I had about $25 in the bank, and I was going to take out a 20 from the ATM to buy some groceries. And so I got up to the ATM, and there were 40 $20 bills sticking out of the ATM, $800. Fortunately, it had a ticket sticking out with it, which meant that the transaction number, they could track who the money belonged to. So my first thought, believe it or not, the first thought was, I got to get that money. The ticket's there. Thank goodness the ticket's there, because I can get the money back to the person. They must have driven off and not realized the money was there, or the baby's coming, you know, got to get home quick, the baby's sick or something, you know. So, so I took the money back in the bank and gave it to him along with the ticket. And ever since then, when I go in that bank, they look at me like, oh, Mr. Massey, you know, because they know I'm an honest guy. But I would ask the boys, why did I take the money back inside? They say, oh man, because you're crazy. You're out of your mind, man. They wouldn't have known who you were. I know there's a camera there, but they don't know who you are. You could have taken that money, nobody would know. So why do you think I did it? Because you're crazy, man. That's why. And so finally I said, why do you think I did it? Let me tell you why I did it. Because I know. Oh, I want to be a man of character. And so anyway, this is one of my lessons. And this is the kind of thing that I would teach them in the class. And I'll never forget one boy, one day I came to teach the class, and a bunch of them had run away, gone AWOL. And he said, I guess you heard about the guys that ran away. I said, yeah, I sure did. Yeah. He said, I was going to go with them. You were going to go with them? He says, yeah, I was going to run out and I was going to go to Florida and live with my sister. They never would have found me down there. I said, why didn't you? He said, well, I figured you'd be disappointed in me. So what they really need is love, you know? And so he knew that I cared about what happened to him, and that he would be doing the wrong, he knew he'd be doing the wrong thing, number one, and number two, somebody gave a damn about it, you know what I mean, cared about it. So all in all, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. They eventually, they remodeled the prison in 2015, and I didn't go back yet. I plan to, but right now I'm so busy, I just don't have the time, but I'm going to go back to it again one day. But that's the kind of thing that you can do to help young people not go to prison, because most of them would go on to prison. They'd call me up. I had a boy call me the other day. He'd been in prison for 10 years. He finally got out. He said, yeah, you were right. I should have known, and this and that. So a lot of times they would go on to prison. So if there's any way you can keep them from going to prison, that's really what you want to do. Cyril.
Absolutely inspiring and amazing and so self-transforming, Brother Gene. And you led by example. You know, Swami speaks about the personal example of transformation, and when you manifested that, look how it affected a similar belief system in that boy, because he believed that you really cared. So as you rightly said, it's all about you transforming. And it leads me to our final question in this wonderful, thought-provoking, divine interview, Brother Gene. And whenever I ask this question, people tell me, Brother Faiz, this is a $3 million question. And it's very simple. based on how you have practiced your life after coming into contact with Sri Satya Sai Baba. You spoke about your personal transformation on different levels. What guidance, what advice would you give to others who would want to make the world a little bit more loving, a little bit more value based, a little bit more peaceful? What can each one of us do?
The first thing you need to do is to think about your death. And your death can be your advisor. Put our eggs in this basket. Unrealistically, there's nothing that's going to last. So we should all think about our death. And when you depart, I joke around my wife sometimes. I say, don't worry about anything. We'll be dead before you know it. So you don't get too excited about anything, but you do want to use your time as best you can in the service of humanity. That's the best thing you can do, because you'll soon be dead and you'll soon be meeting your maker. You'll soon be on the other side. And I believe there's another side. I've seen things coming out of the wall. You know, I mean, I've seen things being materialized and lingams and things coming out of been around the world. Obviously, I've seen things that not very many people have ever seen before. And I've seen things, you know, come out of the wall. It's got to be coming from somewhere. There's got to be another side. So that's one of the things that's happened to me because of this, is I've realized there's another side besides here. There's a life after this. So that should be your advisor. Be prepared for the life after this. Do you want to come back and go through your karma again? Or do you want to do everything Swami says and try to make it to the other side and stay there and merge with Sai? Have your consciousness merge with the supreme consciousness. That's really the goal that he's looking for from us. Don't worry about it. He told Hislop, don't come back. Hislop said, I want to come back to see Prema Sai. And Swami said, it would be better if you didn't come back. It would be better if you didn't come back. It'd be better if you go and merge with the absolute. And so that's what we should all think about. You know, we all think about our children or this or that, or I got my car or my job and I'll make some money and we're going to get a summer home. You know, we all think about those things. You're going to be dead before you know it. I'm 73 in March here this month, March the 7th. I'll be 73. And I'm not kidding. I'll be dead before you know it. You know, maybe this will play to some young person a couple of 100 years from now. But that's the key, is realize how, and even the young people, they don't think about their deaths. They should. Young people should think about you're only going to be here for a few years. I was 22 yesterday. Yesterday, I was 22. That's 50 years ago, you know? So it all goes so fast. You should think about, what on earth am I doing today? What am I doing to help humanity? What am I doing to make myself, to transform myself, to merge with the absolute? That's the ultimate goal that Swami says. So many of us think about coming back again. That's nice, you know, and you think about doing a lot of good karma. So when you come back, you have a big house, right? I'm gonna feed those poor people. So when I come back, I can have a Bentley and a big house, right? No, that's not why you do it. But anyway, that's what my advice to somebody is, think about your death. How short this is. What do you want to accomplish? When you die, do you want to say, well, yeah, he lived and died, his relatives are crying or whatever, but do you want to say you did something worthwhile? Did you help humanity with your life? That would be the question. What have you done lately? As a matter of fact, Swami said that to somebody one time. Somebody was criticizing another devotee about how they didn't do this, didn't do that. And Swami said, and what have you done for me lately? Right? And so that's That's my advice: is do whatever you can for Swami, as much as you can, for as long as you can. Sairam.
So, Brother Jane, those were wonderful words of wisdom. Very, very good advice, because if it's one thing in life that is sure to happen is death. We will all die, but you don't know when. So we have to live every day as if it were our very last, and do the best that we can to create a legacy of goodness that can inspire others to do the same. So, very, very powerful message, Brother Gene, and thank you very much for sharing. My final question, if you would take a few minutes, couple of minutes, is why do you think, and you've been to Puttaparthi so often, why is it important for us as Sai devotees to remain connected to the physical Prashanti Nilayam?
Well, it is if you're a devotee. If you're not a devotee, you can connect to Jesus Christ. You can connect to your temple. So I'm not necessarily thinking now I'm connected, because that's, Swami once said to me in the interview room, "You're always welcome here." And so that's the only place for me to go. But some spiritual connection with something that grounds you is important, whether that's a temple, a church, whether it's Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha, a Buddhist temple, a Christian church. We can all be connected in some way because it helps us be grounded in our faith. And in my case, it helps me to be connected to Puttaparthi because I'm grounded in my faith. And that's where I've had the experiences. That's where Swami's body is buried. Also, my work is centered there with the media center. And I have many more films that I want to make. And so I'm connected because of my work there. And I would suspect that any devotee that wants to be part of Swami's fold, that's truly where the center of everything is. Swami's appointed trust members to manage everything. The schools there are very important. The hospital is very important. You can go there and do service in the hospital, and you can see firsthand what Swami has done. And that's probably the real answer, is by going there, you can see the schools, they'll give you a tour, and you can see the hospital, and you can see his work. It says in the Bible, how will we know when someone comes that's the true master? And it says in the Bible, you will know them by their works. And so if you go there and you see Swami's work, that his hospital is really a temple of healing. And so you go there and look at that, and look what Swami has done. That's a free hospital. And it's not a business like UCLA here. UCLA is a big business. They're building buildings as fast as they can grow, because it's money. They're making a lot of money on everybody being sick, because everybody's eating meat and things, and they're getting sick from it, and eating pizzas and processed foods. So UCLA is, getting money off. You go there and you see Swami's hospital, and you really see something beautiful. So be connected with that. Go there and see his work. Yes. Sairam.
Brother Gene Massey, the Sri Satya Sai Global Council, Trinidad and Tobago, extends warmest appreciation and gratitude to you for taking the time to share your personal journey at the feet of our beloved Mother Sai. It's been an absolute pleasure, an honor, a privilege, and we've learned so many life lessons from your journey. May Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba continue to bless and guide you, and may you continue to be a loving instrument in his divine mission. Jai Sai Ram.
Sairam.